And joining us in studio, Dr. Michael Oren, the former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., former deputy Israeli minister, also Knesset member, and Reserves IDF Brigadier General Israel Relik Shafir, the former commander of the Tel Nof Air Force Base, and a former combat pilot ace, Top Gun of the Israeli Air Force, we should say. Gentlemen, you could certainly react to the response of Danny Danon, a ruling member of the government. But also, Michael, I do want to ask you, this whole notion of the U.S. basically saying to Israel, okay, we'll give you Rafah if you'll, in a sense, go easy on Iran. How plausible does that sound to you?
Borderline. Israel would have to convince the Biden administration that it really has a plan for moving the 1.2 Palestinians gathered along the Gaza-Egypt border out of the way of combat. That's the big concern of the administration, is more Palestinians being killed, and civilians being killed. They're coming into the threshold, the top of this election year, and the pictures coming out of Gaza, such as they came out before from central and northern Gaza, would be very injurious to the Democratic Party going into this election. And so they'd have to be very much convinced that Israel had moved this population away, could do it effectively, swiftly, with the minimum amount of Palestinian civilian casualties. Barring that, I maybe think the report is not true.
All right. And from a security standpoint, Relik, Israel has a choice. You heard Knesset member Danon saying the two are closely connected. Israel has to do Rafah and Iran. But is the IDF ready to post a potentially multi-front war while it still has unfinished business in Gaza? And let's, of course, not forget the hostages.
You know, it's, let me quote Nassim Taleb, who said, if you don't have a stake in the game, that is, you're not going to pay for your suggestions or ideas if they fail. So it's a little bit like Monday morning quarterbacking. If we are too aggressive in Rafah without moving part of the population, you don't have to move the whole 1.2 million, because we more or less know where the tunnels are and where the terrorists are. So you don't have to move everybody. But certainly several tens of thousands will have to be moved probably westward towards the beach area, and then you could do a slow and delicate hunt for the Hamas terrorists in the tunnels. That would be a limited and slow event without having the whole Air Force and artillery in front of the soldiers. It would take, I would say, it would be more precarious for the soldiers who are taking part. But that is a possibility for the military to do that. About Iran, for 10 years, we've been hitting Iran in Syria and Lebanon, and they kept muted. Let me also remind, after Qasem Soleimani was eliminated by the U.S., the Iranians shot a few missiles at an American base. The soldiers were well trenched. Nobody was hurt. And Trump closed this without an answer. So there are all kinds of precedents. But there are all kinds of answers that Israel could do. For instance, take hostages against the 133 hostages that we have.
From where? I'm sorry.
Let's not go into details. Okay. Let's not go into details, but we're talking about Iranians.
Okay.
So we can actually expand the type of retaliation, so to speak, that it will be under the threshold of a counterattack. This is the basic idea. Since we're not really discussing operational capabilities, I'm just throwing this as a possibility that we don't think when we're talking about overt.
I will just, in one of your, this in response to your possibilities, the Iranians supposedly calling back an intelligence ship, a ship they use for intelligence monitoring, for attack or maybe for some other kind of operation.
Well, it's not the only ship sailing around.
Okay.
No, Iran is a target-rich environment.
Right.
For us.
And there is
lots of oil refineries along the Persian Gulf.
Right, and its nuclear program, and of course today a top IRGC official saying that Iran may have to rethink its peaceful plans for its nuclear program.
That's a threat.
That's a threat, and certainly.
So why won't they do that? Because it's much better for Iran to have the ability to make a nuclear weapon than to actually have the nuclear weapon. Because they get all the advantages without holding it, and they lose those advantages once they get it.
Right. I don't think not. I'm sure not many people here in Israel thought that nuclear program was for peaceful purposes altogether. A reminder, of course, this is coming a day after that drone strike by Hezbollah on a community center in the community of Arab El Aramshe, right near the border, which wounded 18 Israelis, 14 soldiers, and 4 civilians. I think 4 of them seriously. So now we are seeing alerts in the communities of Mayam, Baruch, Beit Hillel, Hagoshrim. So the Northern Front busy again today with both some Hezbollah strikes. Israel, of course, retaliating. Yeah.
How about no one asks, how did Hezbollah know that the soldiers were billeting in a community center?
Since he does not want to get of us operational details, but we do have a former.
I'd like to. It's a bit of a question because that says a lot.
Clearly, there was an intelligent. I don't know how you would say it, a defensive failure, intelligence failure, perhaps.
Well, there are all these quadcopters.
Right.
Small ones with cameras.
Like those small little drones.
Yeah, you can't see them on a radar. You can't shoot them. They don't emit enough energy to shoot them. You can, if you get their channel, you can maybe jam them. But there are some who use anti-jamming systems. And they can be flown 5 kilometers from the operator.
Right.
On a hill 300 meters from the border and see what's going on.
Right, in Arab Russia, I think it's 2 kilometers at most from the border.
So it's not a problem knowing that a certain area is not hidden from view from that area. And actually, the drone came in concurrence with an anti-tank missile that was shot.
Right.
Which takes a few seconds to reach the target. So we're talking about a complex situation along the border.
By the way, we're looking at footage that I think just perhaps could well confirm what you're talking about there.
So this is unfortunate, and this is part of the tete-a-tete that we're seeing in Lebanon, where the Israeli Air Force is striking Hezbollah strong points in Baalbek, which is close to the Beirut Damascus road, and it's the backbone of Hezbollah.
Right.
And so it's escalating very slowly. Hasn't reached the threshold of a full-scale confrontation.
Right. And, gentlemen, the problem with Israel, the challenges it faces, is clearly UNRWA has become unacceptable to it. And yet it does have to satisfy. Just yesterday, President Biden, again, criticizing Israel, even which dramatically increased humanitarian aid into Gaza, saying, again, it's not enough.
Well, there's a vacuum or a void in Gaza on who's going to take care of the civil works, starting from sewage, food, traffic, simple policing. Who is going to do it? So we can choose as Israelis to do this. Probably not a good idea. Nobody's standing in line to get this to work. So it can either be Hamas, UNRWA, or the Palestinian Authority. Make your choice. These are the three choices. They're all bad. So the choice is which one is the least worst. Unfortunately, this is what we have to choose. We're not choosing, so the situation is in our hands at this time.
All right. Well, yes, Michael.
I don't disagree.
Okay.
That's the choice. I think we should be entering an intimate dialogue with the Biden administration. Let's hear what they say. They say they want to revitalize, revamped PA to come in and take responsibility for the Gaza Strip. Let's see how that Palestinian Authority could actually be revitalized and revamped.
While it's trying to get challenging Israel
Right.
diplomatically at the UN, that is the challenge. Dr. Michael Oren, Relik Shafir, stay with us.